Welcome back. Another season of the RTFL. It's here. Football is a couple days away, and
Really is.
the show is back up and running. I'm your host, Michael, here with brother John, as always. John, my co-host, my brother. How you doing?
And your league champion, 2 years running. I'm
It
doing
took
great.
it took about 30 seconds. Actually, not even because I started the timer early for you to mention that. Yes, John, our defending champion. How you feeling? Coming into a new season, wearing some sort of stylish jacket. How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm doing okay. I'm a little nervous about this year. I don't have my rock, my one true uh fantasy football love and CD Lamb to
Mhm.
carry me forward this year. Um, but I'm still excited. I think I've got a pretty good squad coming in for the three-peat, and that's how we do it in Chicago. We three-peat. So
Well, you're in Portland, uh,
that's
so
true. Yeah,
and
we
they
don't
never
really
win.
do that here.
Yeah, yeah. So you're trailblazing out there. Um, maybe the three-peat's coming. We'll see. We'll get into it. I hope everybody out there in football land is doing well. Uh, you know, if not great, I hope you're all doing great. We got a lot to cover today. We're gonna try to do a little auction recap. We're gonna maybe pick a division winner for each division. Um, but before we do that, we have to welcome our newest league member. He's not coming on the podcast right now, I should say. We will get him on at some point this season, but I do want to give a big welcome to Doug Hoffman, who took over a spot that was held for the briefest of moments by our cousin Jeff. Cousin Jeff, who um, decided to go to Mongreen and have fun with fish over doing the draft, which is fine. But Doug stepped up while on a fishing boat, no less, and said that he would take the draft, the team slot, and take over ownership. So, Doug, we are happy to have you. It's a thrill to have two Hoffmans in the league, and to finally have the better of the Hoffmans in the league. So, Doug Hoffman, welcome.
Yeah, can confirm. Better Hoffman, and yeah, super excited. So glad that he was able to jump in, and you know, glad we were able to give him 24 hours notice this time around.
Is there
But
you're
but yeah,
you're you switched to some sort of robot voice as you said that. I'm not sure if the audio will pick that up on the podcast.
oh, interesting. Yeah, 24 hours notice is much more notice than we've given to
It's true.
the other,
That's true.
the first person that we had to bring into the league. Jeff, we gave plenty of notice, sent out that calendar invite about a
Months,
month
yeah.
before,
Hmm.
at least, and he did. I don't think he ever accepted the calendar invite, and I think that's a good lesson for everyone.
That
You
should have
you
been our
have,
first clue.
yeah, you gotta check your
Um,
inbox, and you gotta accept the calendar invite.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was a little worried about Doug uh actually being able to obtain consent from Doug to join the league, because he did appear, or at least seem over the phone, to be somewhat intoxicated when he agreed to do this. Granted, it was at about 11 o'clock in the morning. Well, I guess it was noon Eastern. So I don't know how drunk he could have been. Well, he probably could have been pretty drunk, but he did agree, and he did follow through. So thank you, Doug.
Yeah,
We,
and he paid up quick. he paid me real quick too, so that was great.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, and I think like fishing, I mean, you start super early, right? So like he could have been on that boat for 7 hours at that point,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
at which, I mean, one would only
On
hope
a
that,
on a boat with Ken, I'd be drunk
yeah,
too.
yeah,
All right.
you have to. But
Let's
we'll
get
hear more about him when he gets in on, right? So,
yes,
we'll get
we
his
will.
backstory. We'll get all the good stories about Ken as a child, what that
Hmm,
what
hmm.
that looked like, for
That's the
better or for worse.
content.
But
That's the content this show has been missing.
yeah,
Um,
maybe we could even do like some sort of like special like long form interview where Peter Kramer sits down with Doug and does a an exclusive one-on-one. I think that might be the move.
I think that's a great idea.
I'll float that to Peter.
Um, all right, let's run into let's go through a couple kind of housekeeping things. Just remind people of what the status is here. So couple changes to, well, I mean, in terms of changes, just one big change. Uh, Doug is in the league. He takes over a seat in the Papa Bear division, which contains his brother. So this is the first time we've had two siblings in the same division. John and I have never been in the same division. Um, the Papa Bear division, now containing Peter Kramer, no longer two Peters in the division. Peter Kramer, Doug Hoffman, Ken Hoffman, and John Rose in the Papa Bear division. The rest of the divisions stay the same. Kelly, Jake, myself, and Steve in the Sweetness division, and Peanut with Alec Loesch, Bilbo Baggins, Fitzgerald, and Josh Porter rounding out the league. I don't know, John, if there's any other changes we need to mention to go through here before we kind of.
Yeah, a couple new team names. Just wanted to kind of call them out so that everyone knows. You're looking at the Portland Narwhals for Kelly. I love the name, Portland Narwhals. Um,
Mm-hmm,
Otherwise, the rest of the division stayed the same there. The Jugger Pete for Peter Kramer, a new iteration of his name, which I love. Uh, Doug coming in with Myriad of Mediocrity almost
mm-hmm,
got me there. That was
mm-hmm,
a tough one there.
mm-hmm,
And then to round out our division, new name change. Let's get Stroudy. Went out and got DJ Stroud this year. Big fan, quite excited. And then a couple new
mm-hmm,
names in the peanut division. Alec went with Theo's dad. Love it. I hope
mm-hmm.
it brings him all the happiness and can bring. But I hope he gets kicked in the balls. And
You're cutting out a little bit.
oh, am I?
Uh, yeah. Oh, you're back.
Okay.
It seems to be only when you're saying something you don't actually believe, like when you're being insincere about something.
That's
When
fair.
you welcomed Doug to the league, when you said nice things about Alec and his son, that's pretty weird that that's when you would start cutting in and out.
Oh man. All right. I'll figure that one out. And then Bill with Farmhouse Barn Cats. I think that's a great name too.
Um, yeah, so we are back in business. I just realized the standings give people's usernames, which is so bizarre. God,
That's weird. On
sleep.
mine, it's the opposite. It lists their names.
That's pretty weird. Okay,
Yeah.
Sleeper's web UI is awful. All right.
That's really bad.
So what we wanted to do, oh, the other thing we want to do, remind people the payouts. The league fee, $200. If you haven't paid John, Bill, please pay John. Uh, I think everybody is caught up. Otherwise, um, as per usual, the champion will take home $1,200, second place 600, third place 200. The survivor champion will take home 100. And then we have 9 weekly prizes that carry over from last year. We have not changed them at all this year. Um, they are staying the same. So the first week is our first weekly prize. The finish him prize, which I believe is the biggest score differential. Uh, if uh, if I'm not wrong, is that correct, Jen?
Say that again.
The first weekly prize is the biggest score differential, the finish him prize.
Yep. Yeah, that's right.
So that one wins $50. There are three $50 prizes throughout the season, and then we kind of mix in six $25 prizes. So we'll call those out as they're coming. I think most of them are uh, you don't really need to do much other than score points to win them. There's a couple pick'ems in there where you do have to do something. And John and I will obviously send out a pick'em sheet beforehand to get you your funds. All right. Anything else with the prize pool, the payout?
Nope. Everything else looks good. I mean, I'm excited to take home that 1200 again. It's gonna be a phenomenal time. 2 years in a row, 3 years now. So.
All right. Well, we'll see. Uh, okay. Let's dive into the draft or the auction, as I should say. Um, what a time. So it was nice to have everybody there on the Zoom. Didn't actually expect everybody to be on the Zoom, but it was great to see all of you. Um, it was an interesting auction, I thought, in that it did follow some of like last year's flow in which guys that are really the last couple of years, I guess, guys that are projected at sort of these middle prices, the younger ones, the ones that have been talked about with more upside, I guess, end up going for probably double what a lot of projections would have them at. And then uh, the guys that are in the same pool that are kind of uh, the middle tier of guys, but might be veterans or coming off a down year, end up going for much less than what they're projected at. And then there's always a couple guys that go for sky high prices, like Christian McCaffrey, who I believe went for $87 this year.
Yeah, it started off, I believe, with CeeDee Lamb, right? Going
Mm-hmm.
for 61, which was uh probably about right. I mean, I think that that's probably right around where you would expect him to go. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's
Mm-hmm.
some incredibly high numbers there to start off with McCaffrey at 87, Jefferson at 70, uh,
Yep.
Jonathan Taylor went for 64. Um, which Alec, we can start. Alec had the most money, right? Which I think, he had such a amazingly like I feel like unique season last year where the man tried to sell
Sold.
his team and just kept winning.
Yep.
And then, got to a point where he was like, well, I can still make a run. And he did well, but he ended up setting himself up with, a phenomenal opportunity here. And he, yeah, went off and got Jefferson and Taylor right off the bat, which I thought was
Yep.
a really really good pickup, and then followed that up with Josh Allen 3 picks later. So in the span of 4 picks, he took 3 and spent $174. But his team, his team is looking great because of that. Having kept DJ Moore, and then has filled it out with, those 3 guys, Allen, Taylor, and Jefferson, and then David Montgomery, Cole Kmet, Devontae Adams, who I think for $25 was such a steal. I think, there's really no one else there. And Gardner Minshew, he made Michael Pittman a, top, I think top 15 wide receiver last year. So Devontae Adams is better than Pittman, though.
Well,
I think that was a great pickup.
yeah, we're gonna get into Alex's team a little bit later. But just in terms of the entire draft, is there were there any kind of guys that stood out to you as good value, bad value, that you thought were, you know, worth mentioning?
Yeah, I think there's a couple that, like, when you're looking through it, that are kind of some hard overpays. I mean, don't mean to pick on Ken right away, but $30 for Kyler Murray. We watched that bidding war between him and Doug, and that I thought was just a very odd move. $31 for Aaron Jones. The Peter, I thought was quite the overpay. But then, going back, even Alex, he got Ayuke for $18, which, I think is really, really good value there. And then Steve getting Rashee Rice, I think would be the other one for $10.
Yeah,
knowing what we know now, it's looking like an incredible value. So those are probably my two, sort of those two on either side that I'm see off the top of my head that I'm like, but that's great value and bad value.
I was going to call it the Rashee Rice one as well. I think that's great value for Steve. He was somebody I'd like, if he wasn't at the end of a 3-year deal, I would have loved to have kept Rashee Rice. The high price ones, just to kind of put a finer point on it. So I was looking at last year's draft, and I think the top end of the kind of the top end players last year, we were looking at guys, obviously Christian McCaffrey, who's available, Austin Eckler, who was, I think, the second highest price that was paid for a player last year by myself. Do you remember what those two guys went for last year?
I want to say that CMC went for like 71 or $72, and then Eckler went for like 67. Is that?
That sounds like it should be right. But actually, Christian McCaffrey last year went for 66, and Austin Eckler went for 52. I should say Dalvin Cook went for 61, though I believe that was a keep.
That was
I remember correctly.
Kelly kept him. And Kamara was a keeper too last year that I cut, right? And I was gonna keep him for like $63, and then dead cap. So wow, so that's way to like CMC. I mean, CMC has been on the winning team 2 years now. So like that's
But
that's sort of it, right?
When I look across this board and I see guys like so Christian McCaffrey going for 87, I mean it's going to make sense that he's going to go for an insane amount of money. But I think the ones that sort of shock me, unless I'm like misremembering who keepers are. Um, even like Williams going for 51. Jonathan Taylor, we already talked about going for 64. Where was Jefferson? I think Jefferson went for 70.
70. Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
he was
the
Peter's keeper for 3 years, right? So he was coming off like
yes,
a $10 deal.
yeah,
So
but I think I mean, Jefferson, if there's any top wide receiver of the top wide receivers out there, including guys like Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jefferson, who else should Tyreek Hill, obviously. I mean maybe Chase with what's going on with him, but Jefferson's the other guy that I would have the biggest like question mark next to of those players. And him going for $70, which is more than anybody went for last year. I think I don't know if it was just the way that the the dollars ended up rolling out
mhm.
this year. I mean, there was more money, I think, available in the auction
Yeah,
because
for sure.
less players were kept. Um, but even so, I don't think it was substantially more this year than it was last year. And
Yeah,
those high price
probably
guys
not,
ended up
but
going for a lot of money.
yeah, I mean, I think you're looking at, Jefferson, he has the talent, right? So I think it's possible that like, you anchor your team with
Hmm.
Justin Jefferson and you know,
Well, for this year,
it's this
yeah.
year, right? Yeah, it's this year, right? So we'll see these guys return to the pool, which I think is probably the best, like if we're talking about just how this league is set up and sort of year in, year out, you want guys like Lamb and Jefferson and McCaffrey and uh, potentially, you know, Jonathan Taylor, Kyron Williams,
So
some of these guys to enter back into the draft every year, right? So
just to
Bijan
just
probably, but
just to highlight the point that I was making, to throw this out there, there was only last year there was $882 worth of contracts out there before the draft. This year there was $835. So it was about a
yeah,
$50 difference. Um, so I don't know. I
yeah,
just
it was. I thought it was great. I
very
thought it was
interesting how
phenomenal.
much those guys went for.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. I think that it
And
could be an anomaly. It could be that like the best players in the league are finally available and everyone
mhm,
wanted them, right? Like I
mhm.
think that was and the people that had the money went out and spent it. And they spent it fast, right? Porter spent it, Alex spent it. Um
But I
it
do think
was
that leads to the type of like deals that we were talking about before with the some of the guys that were lower price. So
mhm.
who was the one that we were talking
I
about
mean,
before?
Ayuuk and Rashid Rice,
Yes,
right? Rashid Rice,
Ayuik
they
and
went
Rashid
for
Rice.
10 or
Yeah,
18 and 10
yeah.
respectively. Those are, I think, pretty phenomenal deals. Like you have potentially really, really great winners there. Um, and then, yeah, then I mean, you've got other guys that you can call out that I think are good value. But then, yeah, you have like this inflation on other guys still that we're seeing.
Hmm.
Like Malik Neighbors went for 25. Marvin Harrison Jr. went for I think 30 something.
Yep,
Young guys, right? So you still
yep.
like, yep, could be good, but also like, are you going to keep those guys at a higher price like that? Um, and then, yeah, you've got other guys that are incredibly low, that you expected more, right? Like Chris Godwin only went for 9. Terry McLaurin went for 9. Amari Cooper only $13. So you still have some solid guys there that, like, I think some people found some really good value because of that extra money that was spent on some of these marquee players. But I think
Yeah,
it'll make for an interesting, even next year, right? As some of these guys are coming back, right, and then into the draft pool, right? So
agreed.
I thought it was
Agreed.
pretty interesting.
Um, all right. Let's talk about who you think had who you think had the best auction and who you think, well, let's start at the top. Who do you think came away? Everything from kind of, their keepers to value to just going out and getting the guys they probably wanted or the best guys. Whose auction do you like the most?
Yeah, uh I really liked Josh's auction, and I liked his for the most part, I liked his he's coming off of, like, he has some keepers that are entering their last years, right? And I think it's in Javonte Williams and um Pitts, and I think Watson might have another year, but he ended up picking up Richardson, which I thought was a good pickup. I think he showed so much promise last year. But then I liked Porter's plays, right? I liked getting McCaffrey. I liked that he went out and got Lamb,
Hmm.
who for $61 I think is, you know, $61 is $9 less than what Jefferson went for. And Lamb is in such a good position, right? He is poised again to have another phenomenal year. Is the guy there? The wide receiver 2 is Brandon Cooks, who I think is still dealing with a little bit of an injury. Uh, and then their running back situation is Ezekiel Elliott and Dowdle. So it's like Lamb is poised to be the guy again, right? And get
Hmm.
plenty of targets. And Amari Cooper too for $13, great value there. And then I thought he had a pretty good end of draft too, picking up guys like Pickens and Caleb Williams, and uh, you've got even Hubbard, who's gonna get a start for the first 4 weeks. So I thought it was a pretty good draft by Porter. Nothing
Yeah,
no major overpay. You could say McCaffrey was an overpay, but even then, you can't. You know, just he is worth every penny. So I thought he had a pretty well-rounded draft, I would say.
I agree. Josh was definitely on kind of my list of draft auctions that I really thought went kind of well considering where his team was at. Like like you said, there's contracts that I wouldn't necessarily want that he's kind of playing out, but going out with the amount of money that he had and basically getting the best running back and the best wide receiver, not even just available, the best running
Yep.
back and best wide receiver in the league, is,
Yeah, literally 1A and 1B right there, right?
yeah, I
As
mean,
far as best players in the league.
yeah. So, really, really liked Josh's. The other person uh, that I'll give some flowers to is uh, is Jake. I liked Jake's draft. He got he had a very, and actually let me switch teams here, go over to Jake's. Um, Jake has some great value keepers in terms of Achan, who may have a few question marks surrounding him this year, just in terms of his durability and um, the kind of depth in that backfield at this point. But him, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London, and Zay Flowers were his keepers. And I think he did a pretty good job of sort of surrounding them with talent. It's a little misleading when you look at his two running backs. I don't love Kamara this year, but I do think Saquon eats in that offense, and so I like the picking up Saquon a lot. I like going out and getting Lamar Jackson as your quarterback, and then adding some of these young guys who
Yeah.
may hit. Um, I think I, I think kind of rounds out what should be a really strong team in that
Yeah,
division.
I thought he snuck in some really great
Hard.
potential breakout candidates there, right?
Mhm.
And as far as
Yep.
like McConkey is like in the last 2 weeks has really risen as far as a potential breakout candidate, and take over the number one spot in LA. Jay Wright has had some really good work in the preseason, and
And
to
you
get
get
both
some
those guys.
insurance there with HN, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And then uh, you know, Tracy, I can't remember his first name, but he's the rookie out of um
Tyrone,
New
isn't it?
York. Yeah, Tyrone Tracy. And he is uh already second on that depth chart, and
Hmm.
is he very well could be the primary running back. He could leapfrog Devin Singletary pretty easily. I think in the first few weeks of the season, if not by the second half. And then you're looking at a pretty strong running back core too there. If Achane holds up and Kamara continues to just be that dump off for Derek
Hmm.
Carr, that he was last year. And then you've got, Barkley and Jay Wright and Tracy then. And so, yeah, I thought it was a really great by Jake. His first full draft of RTFL, and yeah, did phenomenal.
His first full draft. Um, yeah. Is there anybody else you wanted to highlight real quick?
Um, God, I mean, I feel like everyone did like pretty well overall. I think,
Well, that can't be true because somebody is not going to do well.
yeah, I mean, Ken didn't do great, but like, I don't think
So
he did.
actually, I have a a thing about Ken's. So Ken this year kept, correct me if I'm wrong here, I'm not looking at his thing, but he kept
I got it.
Walker, he kept
Yeah.
Hall, he
Yep.
kept Gibbs, and he kept Pittman,
Yeah, he got
much
Pittman
much to his chagrin.
Arva. Yeah.
Um, and those keepers, I think, give him a really solid core, what could be one of the best cores in the league. Um,
Strong running back
however,
core for sure.
yeah. However, uh, he then to me that seems like a win now, and I know Ken didn't have a ton of money.
I don't think he
He
traded that much. Let me
had
see.
Ken had coming into the draft $106.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Yeah.
what I what I would have thought though is that he would have tried to go out and get one of the top wide receivers. And granted, maybe what we just talked about kind of scared him off. He went out and got like Malik Neighbors, I think is nice, but at $25 for a rookie who's got Jones throwing to him, I just don't know that he's even keepable next year. Bowers, again, like, a rookie tight end who's supposed to be great, um, but he's on one of the worst offenses in the league, and I I just don't know. Um, like he's got a lot. He picked up Shakir, who I know he likes. He's got a lot of nice young pieces. Um, I just would have expected him to go out and get like one of the big name wide receivers to sort of round out this team.
Yeah, I thought so too. You know, I think that there was some like questionable choices there. Fryermuth. Why spend
Well, because
$7 on Fryermuth?
you,
You've got. I mean, if you're gonna go out and get Bowers, like just ride him until Hawkinson's back, right?
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
or spend a few bucks in free agency if Bowers isn't working, right? But you take that
Yeah.
$7, you pair it with the money that you spent on Neighbors, and then you're looking at enough money for a more premier wide receiver potentially, right? So it's or even enough money to get Marvin Harrison Jr. potentially, right? Who's in a much better position to produce this year than Neighbors is. So yeah, I did think it was a little odd. Spending up on Kyler Murray was odd. Uh, then I think he does have some good players, right? That ended up sort of the way the preseason shook out ended up in his favor, right? Terry McLaurin looks
Mhm,
looks to be in a position to get as many targets as possible without
mhm.
anyone else there to really um, contest that for. And then Shakir I thought was a great little pickup too. I know he's a little bit of a homer, but homer pick, but Josh Allen's got to throw the ball to somebody, and I think Shakir is in a good position there. So, and then Smith Njigba also. Hopefully, he's taking over kind of as the number 2 wide receiver uh, on that team, and
Mhm.
Tyler Lockett. I feel like Tyler Lockett's like 37 at this point, but I think he's only 31. But you got to think that he sort of takes a back seat here, but
Agreed.
we'll see how it does. I mean, Ken's always in the mix though, so can't
No, I'm not, I mean,
can't
Ken's got
discount him there. So
as
yeah,
you
really
know,
good
as we
running back core.
said, he's got a great running back core. The other team I'll shout out real quick, uh, that I thought kind of put some interesting um, pieces, I guess, around what was already a kind of well flushed out core was Fitz, actually,
Hmm.
who I think Fitz kept a lot of guys. He kept five or six. I think he
Yeah,
kept five.
I have it right
Kept
here.
five guys. Yeah.
He had Devonta Smith, right, who's in the
Hmm.
second year of a 3-year deal. Same thing with Garrett Wilson and Olave.
Hmm.
And then he uh, traded for Pacheco and gave him
Hmm.
a 2-year deal, which I think was a great move on his part. I probably should have kept Pacheco. He
Hmm.
seems poised to have a good year. And for $17, it's a good deal. And then interestingly, he cut Herbert and then signed Dak Prescott to a 1-year deal. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
ends up there paying about $19 for um, quarterback, you know, two quarterbacks, right? And keeping Prescott, which I mean, you can't argue with Prescott being a fantasy point
I'm
machine.
okay. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Herbert's coming into an odd situation, and it was the last year of the Herbert deal that he did that. So, welcome to the dead cap club, Fitz. I think I texted you that, but shout
Hmm.
out here too. Only a few of us, I think, including Ken, have taken advantage of cutting a player. But just so everyone knows, you can cut players on contract. If you do, the next year, right, that we're entering into the following year is 50%. You have to pay 50% of their contract. And then if there's, another year after that, it's 25% of that contract. So
Yes. See potentially Tony Pollard next season. We'll see. He's on thin
tough.
ice. Um,
Yeah, but it is money that goes, you do end up getting to me it looks like you get money back to spend on other
For
players in the
sure.
draft,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
I think I
But
had 3 players that I have this year that I'm paying dead cap money to. So cool. But yeah, I thought Fitz did really well.
yeah,
Taking those guys and then surrounding them with Connor and Mark Andrews, and then going out and getting, Odunze, I
no,
thought was really good.
I like the what he did to sort of add to I'm not huge on James Conner, but
Hmm.
the Corum pickup, the Brown pickup, the even Singletary. I mean, you get another starting running back at this point. Um, so I like those. I like those moves. You get two. Corum is a young guy that could develop into something. Um, so I do like what Fitz did there.
Yeah,
Um,
but that wide receiver course is great, right? You've got
mhm.
Garrett
Yeah, with
Wilson, who should be really, really good this year. Olave, who's had been up and down, especially last year, but you got to think, another
but
year
you
with
have he
Carr.
has
Yeah,
him on such a cheap deal that I think
yeah,
it's yeah. Um,
yeah, he did he did really well. I don't think he scored less than 10 points in all the games that he played, outside of maybe 1 or 2. So it's a pretty good floor, I would say.
yes, I agree. I agree. I like Fitz's team. Any other teams very quickly that you want to call out?
Um, I think annoyingly, we saw uh, a lot of Peter's team finally turn over, right? We got
Do you like how I clicked on Peter's team before
I wasn't even
you
looking.
before you revealed who you were talking about? I clicked on it
Yeah.
solely based on the word annoyingly.
It was very annoying that he like had all these guys coming off contract. He traded he traded uh some guys away last Kelsey, I think, away last year. Or no, Diggs away last year to Ken on an expiring contract. It was finally like, okay, great. Peter's gonna be done kind of having this like wonderful core of players that like, at a
Hmm.
minimum get him 60, 70, 80 points a game, right? And then
Hmm.
he just like reloads with, I mean, Jordan Love looks great. Unfortunately, Laporta and Nakua, like, and they're all on $10 contracts.
Hmm.
Incredibly frustrating, I would say.
Um, yeah, and I think Peter had a really interesting draft. Like he did a good job with the very little money that he had,
Hmm.
in sort of buying some young guys that he might be able to sign to, you know, those cheap contracts in the future.
Yeah.
In terms of Benson, he's basically trying to, bet on one of the Green Bay wide receivers being the guy, I would
Yep.
imagine, in terms of Reed and Doubs. And then I like the Ray Davis pickup for $5.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I think Cook is like I like Cook in Buffalo, and I think he is gonna do well, but there's gonna be room for Ray Davis there
Totally.
as well
Yeah.
to score points. So
Yeah.
um,
The only blunder I felt like was the Aaron Jones pickup, but you got to get someone in there, right? And he's gonna be
mhm, mhm,
a bell cow, I think. So as
yeah.
long as he can stay healthy, then great. Which is gonna be hard, I think, for Aaron Jones, but
How old is Aaron Jones?
29. So
Man, he might as well be a fucking dinosaur.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and he's on Minnesota, which is basically, isn't that where like Packers players go to die? Oh, or is that's the Jets?
That's the
And
next
then
iteration.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
All right. Let's pick some division winners. You want to do that, and
yeah. I
then
think so.
get out of
Yeah,
here real quick?
yeah. Yep.
All
Yeah,
right.
I think everyone else had a pretty good, pretty good draft. And we'll get
Um,
into everyone's teams more as we go on, right?
yes,
The teams
for
that we
sure.
didn't hit, I think we'll hit next week on, kind of looking at the week one results, right?
For
Um,
sure. I mean, we can, yeah.
which are Steve's teams, Kelly, Bill, and
Yep.
Doug's really, besides ours. Unless
I
Mike, you want
think,
to make a case for why your team is going to be the division winner. But
well, when I was, um, so this summer traveling around, when I was out in Tampa Bay, down in Indy, watching these rookies out in San Francisco,
oh, very
watching
nice.
these rookies, uh, the tape I have them on them, unbelievable. No, I have no case. My whole goal was to throw we don't need to get into it. Starts at the board. I hired Brandon Staley to come be a consultant, so we can blame him when we
As you
inevitably
should.
fail.
Good new
Um,
photo.
you like that?
Yeah.
Uh, all right. Let's let's pick some division winners. Um, Start at the top here with the sweetness division. We've got Kelly, Jake, myself, and Steve. John, who are you taking?
It's a tough one, I will say. Looking through these, uh, you know, Steve Steve put together a phenomenal team, right?
Mhm.
Through his keepers, right? And Hurts, Cook, Chase, and AJ Brown. And I think he got Nico Collins too. Uh,
Mhm.
and yeah, so he did not have much money coming into the draft, right? But
No, he kept
phenomenal.
six guys though, I think, didn't he?
A five, yeah. Chase,
Mhm.
Collins, Cook, Hurts, and AJ Brown. So, I mean, that core alone, you're looking you're looking at 90 points, right? Like that is a phenomenal thing. But then, Kelly went out and did something somewhat similar, right? Um, which I thought was a really good move. She took advantage of the free agency, the restricted free agency, and picked up Mahomes and Cup, which I thought
Mhm.
was great.
Mhm.
And then she went out and spent on Kelsey, which for $25 was, I thought, a phenomenal move. And then spent up for Kyron Williams and Derrick Henry, which I thought was a really good move on her part too. And then we've already touched on Jake's team as to why that team is also poised for a really good year.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
I think I gotta go Steve though. That Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown stack is great, and then assuming Chase does Chase things, with a healthy Joe Burrow, you're looking at a wide receiver tandem that there's not many better out there in our league, if any, right?
Mhm.
So I think I'm gonna pick Steve as of right now for the division winner there.
I am gonna go with my arch nemesis, who I've just declared my arch nemesis. Jake. I'm gonna pick Jake. I think I think Jake's got a great team. I really like Barkley in Philadelphia, and
Hmm.
I think if Achan can stay healthy, St. Brown is a great year. I do. I think it's going to be at the between those three teams. I mean, I have no illusions about my team competing. Um, the I think those three teams are going to have it's going to be a dogfight, but I do think Jake comes out on top. I like the balance of his team more than I like the kind of there's no question that Steve has the best receivers. I don't love his running back core. I really worry
Hmm.
about his running backs. I think they're like I can't believe he has Damien Pierce on the roster. Um, Like,
Yeah, I think that's going to be a challenge,
I think,
for sure. And I think he's looking for a running back. So,
well, Joe Mixon is available, my friend. All right. So is Tony Pollard. Kelly, I actually I do have some more to say about Kelly's team, but I don't want to prolong this any more than we have to. I like Kelly's team a lot. I like the Shaheed pickup, and Xavier Worthy at the price that she got him, I think is great. And I think depending on how those two running backs turn out this year, her team
mhm.
could be really, really good. I just think there's kind of two question marks around Henry and Williams. I mean, not so much Henry. Well, actually, around both of them. All right, let's move on. So I picked Jake. You pick Steve. We'll write these down.
I got
Papa
it. Yeah, I
Bear.
wrote it down.
Papa Bear division. Go for it.
Yeah, I think I I'd love to pick myself. Um, it's a tough division always. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I I'd like to go myself, but I don't know these guys as well as I knew my team last year. I would say. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of question marks on how much production each of my guys will have, right? Swift on a new team, Kittle, just injury concerns. Metcalf kind of down year last year, Diggs on a new team, Josh Jacobs on a new team, that sort of stuff. So I would like to see more, but I think I got to go Peter, right? We just went through Peter's team as far as the
Mm-hmm.
keepers he's brought on and what he was able to do with the limited money in the draft. Unfortunately, always Peter's always been, even though I've won twice in the last 2 years, uh, it always feels like Peter's, you know, the Detroit Pistons, the bad boys, right? He's the guy that everyone has to go through in order to win, right? And
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, in year one, Peter took down Ken in the championship. Then
Mm-hmm.
um, Josh took him down in year two, and then I think I took him in year three, right? And so,
Mm-hmm.
um, it is sort of that like we just have to run through Peter, win the whole thing. So I gotta pick Peter.
Um, yeah, I think Peter's team is well, we already talked about Peter's team. I have to go. I have to go Ken. Um, I like your team. I like Doug's team too. I think Doug, obviously has some good pieces. I worry about Doug's running back situation. The and your team, uh, I just don't know if you're going to be able to recreate the magic of the last 2 years with these guys, but we'll see. I mean, I like some of your pickups, but I do think as much as we talked about kind of the question marks that I had around Ken's team, the core, those kind of three running backs that he has on his roster, Pittman, I I think Ken's got a pretty damn
Yeah.
good starting lineup, and I'm gonna go with Ken. Um, let's go Peanut. What are we doing with the Peanut
Okay.
division?
Let me write those down real quick though.
So
You can
Ken
start on this one. Yeah.
and Peter. Okay. In the Peanut division, we've got Porter, we've got Alec, we've got Bill, and we've got Fifth. Um, it is hard not to go Josh in this division. He has the two best players in all of fantasy football. I'm not sure that that can be overcome. Um, so it's gonna sound strange when I don't pick Josh. but I wore this hat for a reason. I am
Oh
picking
yeah.
Alec Loesch to win the
Yeah.
peanut division this year. Um, this is Alec's bachelor party hat, which has a goofy embroidered image of Alec running. But I'm picking Alec Loesch this year. I think actually that I agree with you about Devontae. I think Devontae has a bit of a bounce back year from last year, in which he finished as a top 10 or 11 wide receiver, but was wildly inconsistent. Um, I think Devontae is a bit of a bounce back year this year. I think Justin Jefferson does just fine, no matter who's throwing him the ball. And I think Alec, his team's a force to be reckoned with. So I'm going Alec. Who are you taking, Jen?
Yeah, I think I'll pivot from Ale. And it really comes down for me, fits with the great wide receiver core, and decent running backs, right? But does that overcome Porter's just absolute boom potential, right? On any given week. And and that's where I think hmm, I think I'd rather go boom. I mean, I can't pick against Christian McCaffrey in this moment. It's certainly not CeeDee Lamb. I'm looking at two of my guys there that I feel like are going to be putting up, between them on any given week, you're looking at 50 points, right? So
Yep.
um that's a great floor. Amari Cooper is in a great position to have, he had some huge games last year. And I think he got really undervalued, just given the Brown situation. He certainly had some down games. He had some great games with Flacco, and some good games with Watson before he got injured, right? So um, I think Cooper's one of those guys that can still get it done. And then Kyle Pitts, he finally has a quarterback that can actually throw the ball accurately, right? And so I think that, if he sees 5, 7 targets a game, you're looking at 4 catches, right? At least.
Mhm.
Uh, and potentially more touchdowns, right? So uh I like Porter here.
All right. Well, you heard it here first. Those are our picks. I picked Alec, I picked Ken,
Ken.
and I picked Jake to win the divisions. John, you went with Josh, Peter, and Steve, I believe, correct?
Yep. Yeah.
All right.
So we'll see.
That's gonna do it for the first RTF show of 2024. And I gotta do this real quick. Uh, Devin Hester nominated to the or not inducted into the Football Hall of Fame this year. The best to ever do it. This episode dedicated to Devin Hester, the man who, as much sports joy as the Bulls brought me as a kid, as much sports joy as the White Sox winning the World Series in 2005 brought me, I am not sure that anybody has brought me more sports joy than Devin Hester did in a game that we lost. In the moment that he ran the opening kickoff of the Super Bowl back for a touchdown. The best to ever do it. Devin Hester, love you, baby. You're the man.
Uh,
All right, John, we did it. Another show in the books.
oh yeah. All I gotta say is Devin Hester takes it to the house.